The Prodigy was directed by Nicholas McCarthy, who directed The Pact, and this tells the story of two parents, Sarah, played by Taylor Schilling from The Lucky One, and John, Peter Mooney, from Camelot, from the TV show Camelot, if you remember. And they are very, very excited to raise a young son that they have named Miles. And I'll get into spoilers a little bit later, and you'll figure out why I didn't like this movie very much. But the idea here is that Miles, from very, very early age, birth goes good. Very early age, Miles is very, very smart, great aptitude, genius levels. The kid understands so much, speaking words and full sentences well before he's even a year old. Exhibiting genius levels by just after age 2. Gets put in, genius schools. But then behavioral problems start. He's having, he's not wanting to associate with other kids. There are certain, violent shit. There's certain violent shit that's happening. Miles is acting strange, speaking an old language, a foreign language that he shouldn't know. Why is he exhibiting this weird stuff? Why are his eyes different colors? What is wrong with Miles? Is he really the genius prodigy? Is there just something wrong with him behaviorally? Or is he possessed by something super evil? One thing I want to say about this movie is it does try to put a twist on that. Instead of just having it be the devil possession like in The Omen or something like The Unborn. This reminded me much more of The Unborn, though The Unborn was a little bit better than this. And that's not saying much because I kind of hated it. But with this movie, the twist is so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Like, the way this whole thing was done, it was so ridiculous where even by horror standards, you're like, okay, what? It's not even like good, what the fuck. It's just like, okay, we had to try something different. And a lot of it doesn't make sense. And horror doesn't necessarily have to make sense, but it has to be entertaining. This movie was not very entertaining. Miles, by the way, was played by the kid that was Georgie from the new It, and actually was the best performance in this. Now, no other performances were particularly offensive in this. It was not the worst thing I've seen in a while, but it was pretty bad. As far as movies I've seen in the last couple of years, this one would rank up there as far as one of the worst horror movies I've seen. Because this could have been released on Netflix and it wouldn't have been a miss. It literally could have been on Netflix and just promoted. They could have done like what they did with Bird Box and just promoted it here. Or promoted it there on Netflix, and it would have just done that. It would have probably done some good numbers. Now, yeah, it might make a little bit of money at the box office. I can't imagine this movie costs very much. But the problem with this is the twist in any of the jump scares, because it's just a loud boom noise. All that is just so generic, so ridiculous. And the eventual conclusion is just so, okay, great, that was pointless. Like, why the fuck did we even bother with that? Honestly, this movie really is a waste of time. Everything is just so cliche and so bad. And just so, it's like, can I see why some people might like this? Sure, but it's like the only way you're going to be scared by this is if you've never seen a goddamn horror movie in your life. If you've seen the movie Orphan, that's what this movie reminded me of. And not necessarily a bad thing, because I like the movie Orphan, but yeah, this for doing the whole thing of like a child being evil and this kind of stuff, or possessed by something evil. The reveal and, the twists and turns and the layering they tried to put on there, that's about how thick the layering was. It was not very good. Not very well done. Very generic, and that's all I have to say. So we're going to get into spoilers right now, around 4 minutes. So that's where I'm going to get, and I'm going to get into spoilers really, really quick. I won't spoil everything, but I'll spoil some stuff. So here we go at 4 minutes. 3, 2, 1, go. So this is a movie you need to see from the very beginning for this reason, because it starts off with a woman running through the woods, panicked and everything. Why is she running through the woods? She ends up causing a woman to nearly crash her car. And the woman gets out of her car, sees this woman holding, a stumped hand. I mean, she's got one hand left. But saying, he took my hand. And then we cut back to having, a guy in a house and everything. And all, doing some creepy shit. Gee, I wonder who's the one that took her hand. Also, there are the two parents that I mentioned that are ready to give birth to their young son, Miles. Well, Sarah is. It'd be a little weird if John was doing that, but they head off to the hospital. Well, this one creepy killer sees his, suddenly hears cops outside. What the hell's going on? The woman took the girl to to the police, and they got a SWAT team, and they got to the house. He's wondering how the hell they found him. He goes to the room that he had the woman strapped down to. She's missing, and escaped through the floorboards. He's panicking, yelling and everything, and then gets out, fully naked, which great. That's absolutely wonderful. No, we didn't need to see that at all. It was fucking rotten, but it was par for the course for a crazy killer. He holds something up. The police shoot him. It turns out to be the woman's severed hand. Yeah, gee, I wonder who it turned out the evil person was. So, okay, after he gets shot, with a creative camera shot of the gun hiding the guy's dick, thankfully, or at least hiding it on film, and then Miles is born. And Miles has 2 different colored eyes. The killer has 2 different colored eyes. Now, I want to point out something really, really quick. This killer got killed in Ohio. Miles' birth took place in Pennsylvania. And a lot of it just doesn't make any sense from there. Miles does exhibit genius levels of behavior, or genius levels, like of IQ and everything. His behavior is a little bit off, but it is what it is. Then some violent shit starts to happen. He also, he plays a game of hide and seek with a babysitter. And the babysitter ends up looking for him in some creatively placed glass on a step while she's going to the basement to find him. Ends up, she ends up cutting her foot and everything, and Miles can't remember what happened. Because at this point, Miles is still around, and this killer is not fully taken over. And then, I'm sorry, this movie's just really, really bad. Miles later on, in a genius school, after getting refused to be lab partners or, school partners with this one girl, because this one kid says, sorry, we were already doing this, he goes, gets a wrench, after being excused to go to the bathroom, and apparently there's just a tool shed there, or something, gets this wrench, or he teleports home and gets the goddamn wrench, returns, and starts beating the kid to death with a freaking wrench. Yeah, that's normal behavior. The parents don't ever think, hey, maybe we should, have our kid put in juvie, or something like that. No, let's just do this same shit where let's take him to a behavioral guy or whatever, or a behavioral therapist. This behavioral therapist, by the way, gets a tape recording that Sarah did of Miles, speaking in Hungarian, which is something a kid shouldn't do, especially a dialect that is only known to people around the Romanian border and stuff like that. Okay, bit weird. Again, all this layering and stuff that they try to do, the plot's about that thin. This tape gets passed on to this guy that wants to talk to Sarah, and basically he tells her the story of reincarnation. And how this one guy this one boy, got the soul of somebody that wanted to say goodbye to their mother and stuff like that. So it could be somebody good. In the case of Miles, it's somebody very bad, and they need to find out what he wants. Because once this person does what they need to do, they will leave the body. That's the idea. Except with serial killers, it's a little bit hard to get them to leave when they want to. And from there, you get the parents doing a whole bunch of shit. Oh, the dog dies. That was fucking great. That was not great. I hated that. They didn't show the dog getting killed, thankfully. I will give the movie that much credit. But yeah, the dog didn't need to necessarily die. And of course, the dog is barking and everything and doing all this, displaying the stuff of, oh yeah, animals knowing this shit, knowing when something's evil. And later on, they finally decide, wait, after they found the dog, now we need to suddenly go and get Miles off to this one place. So, during this behavioral therapist guy, the reincarnation dude, ends up talking to Miles, and turns out that Miles isn't there. It's this killer. And during this one point where Miles manages to get out of it by basically threatening the guy to say that he drugged him and assaulted him, Miles somehow, with his nails, manages on this leather couch to scratch the name of the killer, and he passes it off to Sarah. Sarah finds out about it. Oh my god, he has different colored eyes, just like my son. It's clearly this. We already arrived at that conclusion well before, honey. I don't know how the hell you're finding this out right now. But then tries to find out what in the world is going on. Why this killer has possessed her son. He wants to finish what he started and wants to get to the victim that got away. Yes, we assumed that much. And how in the world? This movie treats its audience like it's fucking idiots, or treats its characters like it's fucking idiots. Actually, both. If you don't figure out this movie within the first 10 minutes, I mean, I'm sorry. I really, really am sorry. But what happens is after trying to transport Miles to school, the dad ends up getting in an accident because Miles has these shears, these snipping shears, these like garden shears that he stabs the dad with. And dad ends up in a coma. And the mother decides this bold idea is to go with Miles and kill this last victim, and then, Miles will be left alone. Oh, wait. No. Even after that happens and Miles manages to kill, because it's now this killer that's completely taken over, he leaves the house. And it's, Miles isn't here, Mrs. Lawrence. Kid goes out. Kid ends up getting, Sarah ends up confronting her son, saying, "Give me back my son. You will not have my son." Well, she's yelling out in all these fields and everything, but there are these houses nearby. So after going to shoot him, she gets shot. And she can't talk and say, no, he's not innocent. Boy ends up getting taken to a house of family friends. And, oh yeah, he's doing all the same behavior stuff because he's a fucking killer in a little kid's body. It's one of the stupidest goddamn movies I've ever seen. I'm sorry, this movie's fucking rotten. F. I'm just gonna say it, F. Even with the creative idea, F. Absolutely. Pull above my head. If you've seen the movie, once you get to the spoilers, if you've seen the movie, you'll know what the fuck I'm talking about. But this movie, 100% shit. Wait for Netflix, wait for Amazon, something. Do not waste your full price on this. I fortunately used passes and I feel like I got ripped off. It was a very, very bad movie, and I will credit them for trying to be different, but yeah, movie was shit. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. Agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritland. I will see you soon.